$30 million. That was the actual price tag of the state-of-the-art Harrier jump jet operated by the U.S. Marine Corps in 1996. A beast of a machine capable of vertical takeoff and striking enemy lines without a runway. Yet a path opened up to legally purchase this weapon for a mere $700,000. This wasn't a back-alley deal in the black market. The source was an official Pepsi TV commercial broadcast all across America. The scene showed a teenager flying a fighter jet to school, wearing cool sunglasses, followed by a subtitle at the bottom of the screen, Harrier Fighter, 7 million points. Tens of millions of viewers simply chuckled at Pepsi's signature humor and changed the channel. But while everyone else dismissed it as a joke, a 21-year-old business student named John Leonard did not laugh. The moment the commercial ended, he had a gut feeling. This was not a joke. It was a fatal system bug exposed by a giant corporation. While others said, that's just an ad, he determined this is a clear contract offer. He immediately started crunching the numbers. His plan wasn't to drink enough cola to earn the points, but to use the logic of capital to buy the points and snatch a $30 million jet. The small ball launched by Pepsi was about to meet one young man's tenacity, sparking the opening act of the most absurd yet magnificent lawsuit in corporate history. The label of eternal second place is essentially a death sentence for a corporation. In the mid-1990s, Pepsi was on the verge of suffocation, standing before the colossal fortress known as Coca-Cola. When people drank cola, they weren't drinking the taste, they were drinking the brand, and that subconscious territory had already been conquered by the Red Empire. Pepsi desperately needed a decisive one punch to flip the board, while others took a defensive stance, saying, let's just keep our existing customers. Pepsi's executives chose a gamble. Let's bet everything and attack. It wasn't just a giveaway event. It was an ambition to turn consumers into believers of the Pepsi culture. This was the beginning of the legendary Pepsi Stuff campaign. T-shirts or leather jackets were too mundane. They needed something explosive that would instantly stick in the minds of a dopamine-addicted younger generation. Perhaps that desperation paralyzed their rational judgment. The marketing team wrote a word on the conference room whiteboard that should never have been written. It was Harrier Fighter Jet. They were convinced it was the perfect, safe bait precisely because it was impossible in reality. How do you collect 7 million points purely by drinking cola? You would have to drink 190 cans every single day without resting for 100 years. Even ignoring the physical impossibility, the cost of the cola alone would be millions, plus the cost of warehousing the cans. It was a mission that was physically and financially impossible. This obvious impossibility was exactly why the Pepsi marketing team could sleep soundly at night. But while everyone else laughed, saying, "Wow, a jet," John Leonard quietly opened the merchandise catalog to its most obscure corner. And there, in the fine print that others found too boring to read, he found the fatal sentence where Pepsi shot itself in the foot. Points can be purchased for cash. As long as you have a minimum of 15 points, the rest can be bought for 10 cents per point. This short sentence was a magic spell that turned the impossible into the possible. The number on his calculator was shocking. 7 million points converted to cash was only $700,000. A system error had been discovered that allowed him to legally acquire a cutting-edge fighter jet worth over $30 million for just $700,000. While everyone else was just imagining it while watching the ad, he had found a crack in reality. For an ordinary college student, $700,000 is a fortune that would take a lifetime to save. The reaction from those around him was cold. Is Pepsi stupid? If you sue, you'll lose. Everyone treated him like a dreamer. But John didn't stop. He packaged this project not as a simple prize redemption, but as an investment product with guaranteed returns. If he could purchase a physical asset worth $30 million for just $700,000, it meant a 4,000% return on investment, something no fund manager on Wall Street could ever generate. He carried a meticulously written business plan and went around persuading investors. Even people who pointed fingers and called it madness were left speechless in the face of clear numbers. Eventually, his reckless confidence succeeded in opening the wallets of picky, wealthy individuals. While someone was popping a cola tab to get 1 point, he was backing himself with massive capital, aiming directly at Pepsi's heart. Finally, on D-Day, John Leonard mailed a certified check for $708.50 collected from his investors, along with 15 original Pepsi labels. The recipient was Pepsi headquarters. The order was for 1 Harrier Jet. When this absurd mail arrived at the marketing department, the staff probably laughed, thinking it was just a prank. However, the moment they confirmed that the enclosed check was real cash, guaranteed by the bank, the atmosphere in the office instantly turned to terror. The pebble thrown as a joke had become a massive boulder crashing down on the company. Pepsi executives hurriedly summoned an army of lawyers. They sent a reply claiming this was merely humor, enclosing a few coupons for free soda, but they picked the wrong opponent. John hadn't raised $700,000 to get some coupons. He immediately refused the return check and issued a declaration of war. Honor the deal. Give me the jet. The courtroom now turned into a battlefield without gunfire. The lawyers from the massive firm hired by Pepsi cornered John Leonard, painting him as a shameless opportunist with zero sense of humor. Their defense logic was simple. Think about it with common sense. Who would fly a $30 million military jet to school in the morning? This is clearly unrealistic exaggeration, mere puffery with no legal liability. They argued it was the overreaction of a plaintiff who took a commercial as a documentary. But John's legal team fought back with cold, hard facts. Nowhere in the catalog or the order form was there a warning saying, "just kidding," or dramatization. The company specified a price and exchange conditions, and the consumer paid the price accordingly. That constitutes a legally perfect contract. Pepsi used public common sense as a shield, while John used the blind spot of the terms as a sharp spear to pierce that gap. The arguments clashed so fiercely that even the judge had to deliberate for a long time before reaching a verdict.
After a long legal battle, the court's final ruling was devastatingly simple. No objective person could reasonably have concluded that the commercial actually offered consumers a Harrier jet. John Leonard's meticulous logic ultimately could not overcome the wall of common sense. However, the true ending of this lawsuit was completed outside the courtroom. The global press headlined the story as "the crazy company that offered a fighter jet as a prize," and Pepsi enjoyed massive publicity effects for free that would have cost hundreds of millions to buy. An image that the dignified Coca-Cola could never possess, an unpredictable and cool brand, was powerfully imprinted on Pepsi. Immediately after the lawsuit, Pepsi quietly edited the commercial. They raised the points required for the jet from 7 million to 700 million and added the phrase, "just kidding." Although John didn't get the jet, he pierced the arrogance of a giant corporation and left a precedent that will remain forever in marketing history. The gamble of a college student who dug into a crack when everyone said it was impossible. Though a legal defeat, it is remembered as the most delightful and magnificent failure in history.